Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your brother Rashawn. Just want to share my testimony for those who haven't heard it. Just pray that it'll be some encouragement for some people. The Bible says they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Excuse me. So I want to share my testimony, man. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So just a little bit of background. Did not grow up in a quote unquote religious family or spiritual family. Superstitious maybe, but not not religious in any sense. We would go to church here and there. Um, Grew up like my grandma used to go to like a Baptist church, where my brother, me and my brothers, we got baptized when we were like 5 or 6 years old. That typical Baptist way where a lot of people just say the prayer and then you just say for the rest of your life, I guess. And so I say all that to say I didn't have a biblical foundation growing up. Single parent house. My mom, she did what she did. She wasn't no religious person at all. But so fast forward to my adult years. Uh, I was rapping. I was a rapper. Still a rapper. I rap for Christ now. But back then, I was doing regular secular music. I was a local artist here in Ohio, and I was doing a little bit of shows here and there. I had a little crew, and so I was living. I started living this kind of rapper type lifestyle where I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of smoking, messing with a lot of females, partying, all that good stuff. And I remember, like I said, my cousin got locked up. Both of my cousins got locked up, and around that time, I believe is when I started to drink more than ever. Like I would drink every now and again, but then I think I was probably like 21, 22, 20 when my cousin got locked up. So that's when the drinking for me started. I eventually became an alcoholic to where I was, well, guess what they would call a functioning alcoholic, where I was drinking. It started off every now and again, then it started off to be like a beer every night, um, and then it turned into a pint every day. Then it turned into a fifth every day. Then it turned into a liter at times. And it started off where I would be drinking at night. Then I started to drink in the morning when I woke up, man. And I started to like weed started to make me paranoid and stuff like that. So I started off being like addicted to weed, but excuse me. Once the weed started making me a little bit more paranoid, stuff like that. And my highs weren't great. I kind of started drinking way more, and I would smoke weed every now and again. But so the particular time that I got saved, I had a show that I was supposed to do on this Saturday. It was a 420 themed show. Um, so me and my buddy, next day we got drunk the night before, like I always do, and we was hanging out. So we got up and we started smoking, and we was driving around the city. Got some weed, start smoking, and um, all of a sudden I felt this weird high that I've never felt before. My head got heavy. I started to like everything got foggy, cloudy, and it was like I got extremely sad, and I felt like I lost control of my own emotions, for lack of a better way to explain it. It was like I it's like somebody took my sadness switch and pushed it all the way up to the top. I got extremely sad. All of a sudden, I just got so down. And it's like when I'm driving around with my buddy, and then for whatever reason, I decided to go into a car. I'm not a car. To go take my car and drive into a church parking lot. And I get there, and the lady, now this is my grandma's church, where I will go to this church probably once or twice every year, every 2, 3 years, on Easter and maybe a funeral. I just, for whatever reason, that experience, that bad high I was having, it just made me want uh, to go to this church. I always believe in God. I did not believe in Jesus as God. You know what I'm saying? In fact, like a couple years prior to that, I was rolling a blunt, talking to my cousin and my mom, like asking them, like, why do people worship Jesus? He's just a man, and thinking I'm dropping so many jewels and just foolishness, blinded by the world and by the enemy. So anyways, I go into the church parking lot. I walk up to the church door, and I talk to the pastor. She just happened to be coming out, and she was the only one there at the time. So it's just me, my buddy Chad, still in the car, and this lady walking out of her church, getting ready to lock the door. And I'm like, can I go in there? Something's wrong. I just need to go in there inside the church. So she's like, yeah, well, yeah. Do you need me to um, pray for you or pray with you, or do you want to go alone? I said, I'll go in and you can pray for me afterwards. So I went in and I got on my knees at the altar, and I just asked God. I said, what is wrong with me? That was what my question was to God. And I heard a voice say, surrender, right? And all of a sudden I just started like shaking and just like having this experience. I started crying at the altar of an empty church, mind you. Um, and I get up, and that bad high I was having was no longer there. I'll never forget what I had on. I had on some LRG jeans, LRG hoodie, um, and I had on some Nike flip flops, man. And I know I smelled like weed in that church around that lady. She could have been like a religious person and been like, "No, it smells like weed. You don't need to come here with the church is closed." She could have been something like that, but she was so sweet, man. Shout out to her. God bless her. Um, and so I'm at this altar, and I heard this voice say surrender, and I said, and then all of a sudden the lady, I feel her come walk up next to me. She starts praying for me, and then I leave, and I had this urge to go get a Bible. Like, I had never owned a Bible in my life prior to this day, and so I left and went straight to. Sorry about that. So I left and I went. I left the church and I went straight to Goodwill to find a Bible. I just had this urge to find a Bible, and there was no Bible at the first Goodwill, so I left. I left that Goodwill and I went to the other Goodwill across town. I don't know why I had to be from Goodwill, but I went to the other Goodwill across town. But I just knew I needed to find a Bible, and I go into the Goodwill. I'm looking for a Bible. I'm looking for, like, the typical black leather looking Bible, and I don't see it. But I look at this yellow book, and it doesn't look. I mean, it was an orange book with yellow colors all on it. It didn't look like a Bible, but something told me to pick it up. I picked it up, and on the front cover it said, "The story of how God created man, and then watch man turn on him. Created, came down and dwelt amongst them, was rejected, and something else, and then now he invites you to find your place in the story of God." And so I opened it, and it's the Bible. And this is how ignorant I was to Bibles and stuff like that. It had the New and the Old Testament, and I literally thought I had like some sort of special edition Bible. That's how ignorant I was, not knowing that most Bibles come with the New and the Old Testament. But anyways, so I leave the Goodwill. I'm talking to my buddy. We go sit down to eat some lunch somewhere, and I'm like, "Hey, bro, I'm reading, like, I read like a chapter. Like, I had never read the Bible a day in my life, man. Like, I may have read like maybe a verse out of Psalms or something, but I just wanted to read the Bible." And I remember I was just like, man, I knew automatically after that experience, I knew that Jesus was the Son of God. Like, I just knew that the truth of who God is, what man, purpose and everything else, I knew that it was in this book. All of a sudden, I just knew it like that after that encounter with God. And so, I'm like, man, did you know Jesus was perfect, bro? Like, he's the Son of God. Like, just talking to my buddy, he's not born again. You know what I'm saying? He's smoking. He's a regular worldly brother, just like I was prior to that experience. And I remember he had made some comments like, Jesus was messing with some of the women he was around or something like that, man. And I just got so like upset about that. And I'm just like defending this very Jesus that prior to this experience, I was just telling my mom and my cousin, like, I don't believe we should be worshiping this person. He's just a man. It's just a man-made thing. And I had bad experiences in churches, preachers asking for money, like literally asking for money for like Cadillac engines and all type of stuff that kind of just turned me off to the things of Christianity. And nobody ever preached the gospel to me, um, outside of maybe hearing a message when I went to the church every once in a while. But God saw it fit to come and get me in the state in which I was messed up. Like I was a full-fledged alcoholic, and it was only going to progressively get worse. Like I couldn't, like if I were to stop drinking, like when I went cold turkey to stop drinking, um, when I got saved, I went through some horrible withdrawal symptoms, man. And I believe God allowed me to experience that to kind of discourage me from ever falling back into that trap, which I ended up doing a couple of times in my walk, even after being born again. But now I'm completely sober. Been sober for 2.5 years now. Thanks be to God. But I believe those withdrawals, God allowed me to experience that for a reason. So I just wanted to share my testimony of how I came to Christ for those who haven't heard it. I believe right now it's a lot going on, and I think we just need to get back to the basics of the power of God and how He can take us out of darkness and introduce us to His marvelous light, and how the Word tells us that they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So I just wanted to share this for those out there who need to be encouraged and faith increased, and people who may be in the struggle, or wondering what is God, and had the same questions that I had prior to having that experience with God. He is real. Like clearly, Jesus Christ is like the way. Is like I have no intentions of being a Christian at all. Like I was trying like all type of different stuff. Like I was trying cheese stuff. I was reading this book called The Kabbalion about the all, and as above, so below, and all these other different quote unquote spiritual things, trying to be deep without coming to the grips of there's a heaven and hell, and that sin is something that's serious, and that there has to be a judgment for your sin unless there's somebody else who came and took that place of that punishment that we were supposed to take for us, and that's what Christ did on the cross. So I'm gonna share on another video. I don't want to make this video too long, but I'm gonna continue to share stories and testimonies about the things I've been through, even the spiritual things that I've experienced, even being saved. I'm gonna talk about in another video. I'm gonna talk about how I was living in this house when I had just moved in this house. Around the time I got saved, I was only there like a couple months, and when I moved, like I just left, like I after I got saved, I ended up like having these demonic experiences in that house where like two demons, like I remember seeing two shadows hit me in my head, boom, boom, in the shower when I was trying to make my transition out of being an alcoholic and being worldly and into Christ. I didn't have a church like at the time, like no offense to the church that I had got saved in, but that was like a Methodist, very bland, powerless church. I'm sorry to say that. I just got to be honest, and that was not for me. You know what I mean? That I went there the next day, and it was like the worst. It was so boring, but it was just no power. It was just But anyway, so I'm trying to make this transition alone at the time. And so the enemy was just after me something serious. And then even when I moved to Columbus, I was going to go to rehab. That's how bad my withdrawal symptoms were. And I ended up having this encounter where I found out the landlords were witches. And like I had this evil phone call from this lady and then then there's another story about when I finally moved to Columbus. I moved with my mom. How I had this encounter with Christ, where with the angels, where they were like cleansing my liver. But I'm not gonna get into that in this video. I don't want to make it too long. I just pray this testimony encourages people. I'm gonna continue the testimony. I'm gonna talk about how I got the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Then I ended up getting married, and also the things I told you about before, the witchcraft stuff that I dealt with, and the withdrawals and stuff like that. I'm gonna talk about that in another video, man. Stay tuned. If this is encouraging you, please share, like, and subscribe. All that good stuff they like to say on YouTube, man. And I'm gonna be sharing more stuff, man. I just felt compelled to start sharing more. I've told people locally about this stuff, but I haven't really gone in detail about a lot of this stuff. And shout out to brother Franklin, man. He has a page. Go subscribe to him. It's called Wisdom and Understanding. He was telling testimonies about some things, and it's like I felt convicted that it's like the Lord was telling him he needs to share this stuff with the world. And I'm like, man, this is like, the Holy Spirit really told me the same thing about sharing this stuff with the world, like sharing more videos and not just sharing amongst people locally, but getting on YouTube, especially because all this censorship stuff that's happening, and they about to start shutting stuff down. And I think this stuff is a faith building stuff, man, and know that this spirit realm is real, Jesus is real, the devil is real, everything else, man. So I ain't gonna ramble on too much longer. God bless y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a blessed day and week.